play right, cause they can't miss. All about the game, that's a cold switch. Serving up the truth, call it ruthless. Tune in and get your fix from Blake and Vish Sports.
He started off with a bang. We can just put it that way. I thought the commentators did a great job emphasizing the name Trey area. That was pretty awesome. But Vish, I want to get your initial thoughts. Trey Lance first preseason game for the Niners against the Chiefs.
Yeah, I was pretty impressed, to be honest with you, with Trey Lance's first preseason game. I thought it was a good game overall. I mean, the numbers don't really show the entire story. I mean, if you watch the game, I think the Niners were charted at having 3 drops, right? The one by Richie James, the one by Ayuk, and the one by River Craycraft. Though the Craycraft one was a little bit of a duck. So
yeah, that's what I thought too.
I give Craycraft maybe a little bit of an excuse there, but I also thought there was a fourth one, and I unfortunately they didn't show the replay for this, but he threw an in cut to Richie James that was an absolute rip over the middle. Yeah. And I thought Richie James just didn't want to put his hands on that football because it was coming so fast. I thought it was thrown at a decent height right around his face mask, and I thought maybe he could have caught that. I don't know. I didn't see the replay, so I thought there was maybe 4. But overall, I thought he looked as advertised. He looked athletic. Obviously, we didn't get to see his entire athleticism element. We just saw how elusive he is in tight spaces, especially the rollout and the movement within the pocket. His arm obviously is as live as ever. The first throw to Ayuk was an absolute awesome. Platform, just ripped the target. And then he, of course, threw that out to Richie James that he dropped. That was probably, in my opinion, his best throw of the night. That or the one to Ayuk. Unfortunate that both of them got dropped. The Trent Sherfield touchdown, everybody's hyped about that. It was nice because, it was great play design. Sherfield was open by a good amount, 2-3 yards, and Lance put it right on him. And especially it's a more difficult throw because he's flipping his hips and throwing that ball far hash on distance. And he throws with such pace, such easy velocity, and he put it right on him. That was awesome to see. But the things that I saw is someone mentioned it right here in the comments. His offensive line was awful. Yeah. And I thought he managed that offensive line in a lot of situations well. He did take 4 sacks, of which I thought 3 sacks were unavoidable. The first one to Chris Jones, just beating Daniel Brunskill, he could do nothing. Right, and I thought maybe 1 sack he might have been able to get the ball out quicker, but the nice thing was there was a play later. I think Robbie Gould hit a field goal. This was, I think it was 3rd and 9 or 3rd and 10, and he was able to check the ball down to either Trey Sermon or Wayne Gallman under heavy pressure with a bunch of people around him. And that was really cool to see him getting all the way back to his check down, locating him and finding him and throwing him an accurate ball. I thought that was excellent. In terms of what I saw, I thought he was exactly as advertised, as I keep saying. He looked athletic. His arm looked strong. The drop back pass element, something he didn't do a lot in college. We saw the 2-minute drill that he wasn't all the way comfortable, though you could put some of that on the fact that he was playing a little too fast because the offensive line really couldn't protect him. So I thought there was a little bit of that, but that'll obviously get refined as we keep going. He missed underneath coverage the one time to DeAndre Baker, and then he was late on a throw over the middle the one time, and it was almost picked. I thought both of those things are things that we've seen routinely from Niners quarterbacks over the last few years, from whether it's Jimmy G, Nick Mullins, whether it's CJ Beathard. And I think that's part of the learning experience. I didn't think it was as bad as people painted it out to be, especially given that he had a lot of really, really positive plays that were dropped. And then finally, maybe one of my most just in terms of, before I let you go, maybe my last observation and takeaway, and I thought it was a little weird, is if you watch the replays of a lot of his throws, he actually doesn't throw a perfect spiral on a lot of his throws, right? He's got a slight wobble. I wouldn't call it a duck, but it's got a little wobble to it. Yeah. And the crazy thing to me with that little wobble is the fact that he's able to generate so much power and pace while not throwing a perfect spiral, because a perfect spiral, obviously, anybody who studied physics, it's more naturally aerodynamic than a football with a slight wobble. But the fact that he throws with such easy power direction with that, it was it's really cool to see. And then finally, I mean, we discussed ad nauseum before the draft how his accuracy can come and go at times a little bit. I thought we saw glimpses of that yesterday, but I
Yeah.
didn't think it was anything that should alarm you. It was just he lost control of the football one or two times in 14 throws, which I mean is pretty standard for him. And so I thought overall it was a really, really solid and promising debut from him.
Yeah, I'll say this. I thought he showed the most potential out of probably any of the quarterbacks, combining his throwing with his athleticism. Because I thought his athleticism, even though we didn't get to see it like fully, like him running, I felt like in the pocket and him climbing the pocket and moving, I thought you could kind of tell just how mobile he actually is. Like on the throw to Brandon Ayuk, he could have definitely taken off on that because he was moving. He was
Right.
moving. He threw that off
Right.
platform. I mean, I thought that play, and then the one where he kind of threw it sidearm to Craycraft, and it was dropped. I'm with you. I didn't think that was like an egregious drop. Like it wasn't like the Ayuk one where like he should have completely caught it right.
Mhm.
But yeah, I thought his mobility was insane. I think him and Fields clearly showed how athletic they were, which is like they're already top 5 athletically wise for quarterbacks and just like running and stuff. I thought that was good. I thought his arm looked incredible as advertised. I mean, the ball coming out of his hands was electrically fast. Like I thought it was some of those throws were absolute rockets, and even the ones that were like incomplete, like you just saw them getting rifled across, and they did not. It like he was not going to have problems making throws to the outside the numbers, which I think is a really good thing. I thought the bad, I guess, yeah, I wouldn't blame, or I guess the O-line was bad. I'm with you on like not blaming him on the sacks. Like the first one where Brunskill just got demolished by Chris Jones. Like I really don't know what he could have done there. Like the guy was there. And then, yeah, he also did do a good job of dumping it off too. So I thought that was good. The only bad I saw was, I guess, some of the inconsistencies with accuracy, but that can always, or not always, but we've seen, I think Josh Allen's kind of the prime example of someone who wasn't maybe the most accurate guy, and he's improved his accuracy a lot, but that'll just come through playing. So all we can really do is just, or wait for him to play more and try to build that up. But that was the only thing that I saw anything bad with. He had a few missed throws, and then, yeah, I guess the one where he missed the underneath, and then the zone where he was a little late and the guy jumped it. But besides that, I thought he showed the most potential of any of the quarterbacks today. And that's kind of what I guess most people's read on him was that he had all this potential, but he had a couple of things that maybe he needed to work through to actually get there.
Yeah, and I think two things also need to be stated, right? I mean, the drop back pass element for Trey Lance, he didn't do a lot of that in college. We're talking about a guy who had 300 throws in college, and of those 300, not a lot of them were of the drop back pass variety. He had run a lot of RPOs. He had also run a lot of true play action, and we saw how comfortable he was in play action. Well, obviously in the preseason, the Niners aren't going to unleash how creative they can use him in the run game and how that sets up the play action pass game. We know Shanahan's offense, marry the run and the pass and make it look the same, making it very difficult for the defenses to pick up whether they're running the ball or passing the ball, creating a lot of open space. Well, I mean, that element of it we didn't get to see. And obviously, I think the drop back pass game for him is going to be inconsistent. It's going to be like that 2-minute drill. Sometimes it's going to look rushed, or sometimes it's going to look a little bit inaccurate because this is a guy who hasn't played a lot and hasn't done that a lot. But I don't think that's exactly a bad thing because that can be improved with reps because the things he does well, like we did see how good he was in play action, how quickly he's able to rip the play fake, get his head back around, locate the safeties, and find where to go with the ball. He is really, really good at it, and you can see he's done it a lot, so he's really comfortable with it. And then the other thing is, obviously, that's the first thing, and then the other thing is we didn't get to see the running, and we saw already how athletic he looks, even without actually being able to see him run. So the sky is really the limit, like you said.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think my overall was like if you just looked at the box score, you would. A lot of people trashed him, right? On social media because of that. Obviously, the drops, the bad O-line. Yeah, I think really for me, the only concerning thing was just the inconsistencies with accuracy. Now that can definitely get improved, but I thought he's not lacking anything physical whatsoever. And that I think is the most important thing, because that you really can't teach. It is possible to improve accuracy. It is impossible to, get better at reading defenses and maybe finding the underneath guy, but you cannot teach someone to have a cannon of an arm like he does. And I think he showed that again. And that's really the main takeaway that I had. But I will say, I think the deep bomb pass may be a little overhyped when the guy was yelling Trey area, the commentator.
That's just Greg Papa for you.
He's
gonna be that regardless of what happens. You gotta love him. You gotta take him for what he is.
Yeah, fair enough.
But the one last thing I wanted to add, and I think this was maybe the most impressive thing, is he never looked rattled to me for a guy, and he was getting hit every play, and I thought that, it can't be stated enough how overmatched that offensive line looked. They were getting basically just Ole, like the old, Ole defense that, the 2K commentators used to say when you have a straight line drive for a dunk. There was a lot of Ole blocking happening on a lot of different plays where guys just got beat straight off the ball, and Trey Lance has pressure right in his face. And I was actually quite impressed with the fact that, he did a really, really good job of, for the most part, managing it and keeping his poise and continuing to doing his job. So, I mean, to me, he was exactly what he looked like, what we expected him to be coming from college, maybe even a little better than what he expected him to be from college. And it's really, the sky is the limit, because I thought it was a good debut, to be really honest. I was pretty impressed. Yeah,
definitely. So that was Trey Lance, and then I know we had a comment to bring up. So thank you for the donation, David W. And David W says, on his 4 sacks, had no avenues to scramble. Instinct is to protect the ball. On 2 near picks, balls were thrown well. Decisions to throw were wrong. Vish, what are your thoughts?
I mean, you could argue that the underneath one against DeAndre Baker, when he just misses DeAndre Baker as the flat defender, basically lurking on that little corner route from Charlie Warner, you could say that one, I think the ball was thrown well and the decision was good. But the second one, where the ball was undercut to Juwan Jennings, the one over the middle of the field, I thought one, it was a fine decision, actually. I just thought the ball was late. He took an extra hitch before he threw the ball in. 2, I thought the ball was behind Juwan Jennings slightly.
Okay.
So yeah, that was my take. I mean, we're all seeing these plays on replay once or twice and trying
from
to
the same angle.
I watched it as many times. Man, if once they give us the all 22, it'll be much easier to see these things, I feel like.
I agree with you. That's what I was going to bring up, with the Richie James throw, because I saw that and I was like, I can't tell if that was out of reach or if he could have maybe brought it down, although it was a rifle. It was tough to tell from the angle we were given. Because I tried to watch it 4 more times, and I was like, I just can't tell. It's going too fast, right?
So they showed the replay during the live broadcast, and it was just literally right in his hands here, and he put it straight down. It's unfortunate, because I like Richie James too. I mean, you like Richie James. He had a record second.
Richie James was killing the Packers for no reason.
But yeah, it was just a rough drop, because that was to me maybe the Ayuk throw, but that was a rip in terms of the timing. His back foot hit the ground, and he just ripped the out route with timing, accuracy, pace. It was incredible.
Yeah, I thought the out route was definitely his best throw. That was he really couldn't have done anything better. And yeah, it looked very aesthetically pleasing, right on the sideline, right where it needed to be. Unfortunate drop, but yeah, overall pretty interesting. I know definitely a great start, and I'm sure the stadium was just rocking after that first throw. I mean, that was
I'm sure
the first reception I meant. Sorry.